It's all about Nigel Farage. He was in and out of the Parliament in the UK, and he's made time for us in Westminster right now. Thank you, great man. Nigel, lots to talk to, but let's talk about this massive debate tomorrow. What do you, if you had any conversations with Donald, have you given him any free advice via text?
Well, I'm always giving advice. Sometimes it gets listened to, sometimes it doesn't. Look, the thing is, Harris is untested. It sounds bizarre to say it. She's been a vice president for 4 years, yet the American public barely know her. She's been able in the last few weeks to get away with the scripted speech, the big stage, a couple of A-list celebrities. This is different. This is, can she answer questions? Can she display knowledge when there's not an autocue to hand? And so, yes, of course, they'll have a go at each other. She'll say he's a convicted felon, and he's going to say she's a right lefty, and the real Kamala will come out if she becomes president. But the really important thing with this debate is they've got to get into detail. They've got to get into economic detail, tax detail. They've got to get into detail about American energy production. They've got to get into detail about the cost of filling up your car. And above all, they've got to get into detail about the numbers that have crossed the border since Biden came to power, since she was put in charge. And if Trump can get her onto those subjects, if the invigilators do their job properly, then I think this will be the decisive moment of the whole campaign and Trump will win. But I'll give you, there is a caveat there with one or two ifs.
Look, 100%. And also, as we mentioned before, there was a survey done of the newscast of ABC in America, 100% negative coverage. 100% positive coverage of Harris, 93% negative coverage of Trump. We know he's playing an away game, but he always is in these scenarios. We keep hearing about she's going to play 4D chess, trying to goad him and all the rest of it. As you say, every poll, even one that shows Harris up, shows that they're with Trump on the issues. It's the personality stuff. Some of that you can change, some of that you can't. But the reality is that, as you say, if we're talking about what's on offer, people want change. Harris is the co-pilot of the plane that is way off course and headed into the mountain, right? Trump doesn't have to knock her out. He just has to say, I'm the guy who's going to change, and she's the one who's just saying she's going to change to win an election.
Yes, I mean, she sort of almost tries to disassociate herself with the Biden regime when she was, for goodness sake, the vice president. And the other thing I think is very important is what Trump can say is, look at my record. I made promises to people in 2016, and you know what? I kept those promises. Compare and contrast that with what Biden said back in 2020 and what they've done. As I say, I just hope this doesn't get dominated by a cat fight, a personal fight between the two. It might have worked against Hillary Clinton. It won't work against Harris.
100%. And again, I think that, if she's just in front in the polling, then really it's Trump who's very level or in front because of the historic failures of the polls. Yeah. But I wanted to get in the head of a bloke who has literally this year done how many of these different debates, right, where you've got all these different things playing in your head. I want to show you from CBS in the United States, this is the detail of how Harris has been preparing. Now, this stuff might be great on paper, but I think it's shoving too much into any human being's head. But have a look.
She has spent the last several days at a downtown Pittsburgh hotel with aides trying to replicate what the studio itself will look like tomorrow night in Philadelphia. We're told there's a stage, there's cameras, there's lights, there's lecterns, and there's an ability to go back and watch the tape, review the tape with her team to get a sense of not only what she's saying, but how she's saying it on camera.
Nigel, that's ridiculous. To go back and watch yourself on tape for whether your shoulders were in the right place, let alone where the words were. No one can remember what that process is like. You've got to respond in the moment, don't you?
You can fill your head with too much. Either you know this stuff or you don't. My first really big national debate was against the Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, just over 10 years ago. Live, massive audience, and I prepared really carefully. I went to the Westminster Arms, had a pint, and then went on. I mean it, I did. And then went on for the debate. Because I took the view that if I didn't know by then what I was going to say, then frankly, it was too late. And if she's overtrained, she will fire off like a machine gun, with facts she's remembered and everything else. Preparation, yes. Quiet time and thought, yes. Overtraining, I don't believe in it.
What's it like to stand at one of those lecterns when you've got that national audience, which is more than anything? Sure, more people watched you in the jungle, but you get my point. I mean, what is that like? Because it's one thing to be in control of your TV show or a speech that you're giving, but what is it like? Explain to people what that moment is like.
It was the biggest moment of my life. We were heading towards a national European election. My party had hit the lead in the polls, but I was a complete outsider. Nick Clegg was the Deputy Prime Minister and the man that now runs Meta, of course, for Mark Zuckerberg. When I arrived and I saw the sheer size of the crowds outside and the cameras and the flashes, and I was a little bit overawed. And I'd spent a couple of days with a guy, Patrick, and we were working through subjects, questions, thinking it all out. And as I left him to go towards the stage, he said to me, "You're on your own now." And I thought, gosh, I really am. In a moment like that, you will be nervous. And it's a question of how you deal with those nerves. And Trump won't be nervous. He'll want to do well, but he's done it before. She will be far more nervous than Trump. So we'll look out for that cackling laugh.
Looking forward to all of it and your analysis, Farage, on GB News and, of course, with us each and every week. Thank you, mate. All the back to the real job as, of course, a Member of Parliament, which we're great to see him there as the leader of Reform.